Hi everyone, David Aragona and Mike Beer here taking a look at one of the Grade 1 races on Travers Saturday at Saratoga. Actually, the race right before the Travers, race 12 on this 14 race card, is the Grade 1 Ballerina. This one going the 7 furlong distance for the older fillies and mares on the dirt. And Mike, there's some real talent in this race, and there's also a lot of horses entered in this race. I think I was kind of surprised to see this race come up with 12 runners, knowing who the main protagonists were. Thought they might scare some off. Not the case, at least through the entry box. The number 7 Ways and Means likely to go favorite here, coming off a game victory last time out of the Bed of Roses. And usually when she runs at Saratoga in races like this, she is awfully tough to beat.
Yeah, her good race makes her really, really tough, and she is the logical starting point here. But there are plenty of other ways to go in here, David. I mean, we'll see what this field looks like come post time on Saturday. But there's some horses that you can make cases for in this race.
Yeah, Mike and I were talking offline before we started recording. I got four 30-1 shots on the morning line. I'll be interested to see how many of those actually stay in this race once they take a look around to see who else is entered in here. But it's drawn with a field of 12, and it's going to be intriguing to see how the trips and pace plays out. With that in mind, let's start going through this field, beginning with the number 1, Echo Sound, who maybe doesn't have the easiest post to deal with if this is indeed a 12-horse field drawn inside, because, Mike, it does feel like she's a horse who wants to be forward. She does have good natural speed, though, so I wonder how much they're going to have to use her from her inside post. She is a tough horse for me to assess, Mike, because she's got that one race in her PPs, the 101 Buyer in the victory ride from last summer at Saratoga, that makes her a major player in this race, but her surrounding form doesn't nearly measure up to that standard. So you kind of wonder which version of her is going to show up here. We'll take a look at her most recent race in Monmouth, where she gets the job done coming back off the layoff, but she's going to be facing a much tougher field than this on Saturday.
No doubt. Yeah, it's up to her to prove that that 101, it just sort of looks like an outlier on her form, and she's going to have to prove it now as they enter her back in a really tough race here. But at least she has it. I mean, for a horse who's going to be a price in this race, she's got one. I thought this race we're watching right now, first of all, just to get it out of the way, first off the layoff, a wet track, probably exactly what Rusty Arnold wanted to see from this horse. This is the easiest kind of win for a horse off of a layoff. I don't care what the figure is. And then just as far as the victory ride goes, David, she was in great form leading into that race. So I don't think it was like a total surprise that she ran a better race that day. Since then, I mean, her dogwood, I don't know what to say about that. It was bad. I didn't think her test was terrible, where she got involved in a race that totally fell apart late. So I just think she's pretty good, and she's going to be a good price in this race. And, yeah, there's speed to the outside, but I've seen her run really well without the lead in some of her races in the past. There are things to hold on to here at a horse for a horse who's going to be a pretty big price.
It's a fair point. She's going to be a big price for a horse who does have a pretty big figure in her PPs. The number 2 is Kilwin. She is the other Rusty Arnold horse in this race, and she was actually the winner of the Grade 1 test, where her stablemate Echo Sound was, I think, the post-time favorite in that race, but Kilwin was the one that got the job done in that Grade 1 event going this distance last summer, and she made herself 2 for 2 on the dirt that day, and she took her dirt record to 3 for 3 last time out at Ellis Park when she came off the layoff to win the Twin Bridges Stakes. So I think at this point in time, Mike, we can be pretty sure about it. Kilwin is a better dirt horse, despite the fact that they've run her on turf now 6 times. I think coming back to Saratoga, getting back to the 7 furlong distance, it makes her interesting. But, Mike, you referenced that test last year where Echo Sound was beaten as the favorite. While the pace of that race didn't look that fast, it felt like a race that just kind of fell apart and came to closers that day. So Kilwin, in some respects, took advantage of it, but make no mistake, she's pretty good on the dirt.
Yeah, that was my takeaway too. I mean, I really liked her as a turf horse early on too. So, I was a little surprised that she's not only as good on dirt, she's better on dirt. It seems that way anyway. And you're right, though, as far as the test goes, it was a race that fell apart at the end. Maybe, the fact that she broke on her face in that race, mitigates it a little bit. I mean, she really did stumble badly at the start and managed to overcome it. So she was good in that race. I don't know what you thought about her return to the races, David, but, just like her stablemate to the inside, I thought she looked really good winning off the layoff last time in a race where she actually kept a lot closer to the pace too. I don't know. I just think Kilwin's a really good horse, and she'll be a good price in here too.
Yeah, she really finished last time. That's kind of her calling card. She's a really strong finisher in her races, and there's supposed to be at least some pace in here. The number 3 is Munnings Express. We'll see if she actually runs in this spot. Linda Rice not often starting huge prices in graded stakes races, and she's going to be a huge price if she starts here because her career best Buyer of 90 was earned against much weaker competition than this. She's coming off a stakes victory against New York breds, Mike, but that performance is not going to get it done at this level.
Yeah, I'm a big Munnings Express fan. I wasn't expecting to see her entered in the Ballerina.
The number 4, Usha, she's coming out of the exact same race as Munnings Express, was actually beaten by that foe last time when she was failing as the favorite in the Johnstone. Maybe not the most comfortable trip. She took a lot of kickback down towards the inside, tried to follow Munnings Express's move, was never maybe in position to win that race, but still, it was kind of yet another step backwards for Usha, who looked so good at winning the Grade 1 La Brea out in California at the end of last year. And while she ran some decent races earlier this season, to me, she's never really gotten back to that form.
No, I'm with you on that. She hasn't. I've heard last 2 races in particular are really disappointing. And then even when you go back to, the Derby Day, when she faced a couple of these same horses, I mean, obviously that wasn't a terrible performance, but I don't know about you. I didn't see the excuse for her in that race, and she was no match for our disaster in Ways and Means.
The number 5 Grammy Girl is going to be another big price in this race. And I mean, she's pretty good for like a listed to grade 3 stakes horse, Mike. I just don't know if she's grade 1 quality. I mean, she's been in very good form. She keeps hitting the board in her races, but she was no match for one of today's rivals, Maida, when she tried her in the Alma North last time. And Laurel just got run off her feet like everybody did by the winner that day. And, you go back to her prior form, I think 7 furlongs is fine for her and she can make a good trip for herself. I'm just not sure that she's got the speed figure power to hang with a group like this.
Yeah, I saw all those same things. I mean, I don't mind this distance for her, and I do, respect the fact that she's, a pretty tactical kind of horse and maybe can fall into the right kind of trip in this race. I just wasn't sure she was good enough.
The number 6, Kappa, she's another 30 to 1 shot on my morning line. That's kind of tough to make a case for at this point. I mean, she is a grade 2 winner going the 7 furlong distance. She caused that big upset in the Raven Run last year at Kilwin, but they tried 2 turns after that. That didn't work out, and she's kind of gotten messed up since then. I mean, she's got an easy victory against overmatched competition at Parks 2 back, but her surrounding stakes tries, they just leave a lot to be desired.
Yeah, I don't see the race that I could get to. I mean, I guess she is 1 for 1 going 7 furlongs, and it's maybe the best race that she's ever run in the Raven Run at Kilwin last year. But that Raven Run was probably my least favorite graded stakes race run in 2025 anywhere. I did not like that race at all, and just felt like maybe she got a little lucky to win it. And I don't like what she's done since then.
The number 7, Ways and Means, is clearly the horse to beat in this race. She was going to be one of the favorites, maybe the favorite in this race last year. Unfortunately, came up with an issue, couldn't make it 2 in a row off her Bed of Roses score in 2025, but she's going to try to pull off that double this year. And Mike, she couldn't have been much better in the Bed of Roses last time. We'll take a look at the stretch run because it felt like the runner-up Grand Job fired her best race. And Grand Job, she's not back in here, but on her day, she is one of, if not the best filly and mare sprinters in the country. And Grand Job had all the best of it on the front end. Ways and Means had the tough task of chasing that foe to the outside, trying to reel her in over a track that was arguably more favoring to speed types, and Ways and Means just came and got her in the final 16th of a mile. I mean, Mike, when you just kind of isolate her Saratoga form, I mean, not to make too much of the horse for course angle, because I know neither of us really believe in that too much, but I mean, she just shows up and runs at this venue. I mean, she runs her biggest speed figures here. If she shows up with her A race, she's going to be awfully tough to beat.
Yeah, there's just no 2 ways about it. She's the horse to beat in here. Her good race makes her really, really good. And we saw that obviously we saw that good race last time on this track. That was a really good effort. Obviously, her and Grand Job, they really threw it down in there. And so I think it's probably to her benefit that Chad hasn't rushed her back into another race. He gave her a little bit of time here. And that could work out really well for her. She's the horse to beat in here, David. I would just say, as far as betting this race goes, there are some alternatives. And as good as Ways and Means is, she can be had, man. I've seen her get beat in races without any like real excuse, where she just wasn't good enough and somebody took her down. I think that could happen on Saturday.
As good as she is and as good as she's been for a long time, she only has 1 prior grade 1 win. And that's kind of along the lines of the point you were making, Mike. I mean, she's had a couple races on there where she's had excuses, but hasn't always sealed the deal. The number 8 is Maida. And this is kind of an interesting horse coming in here for trainer Brittany Russell. I mean, she was dismissed by the bettors at 6 to 1 last time in the honorable miss, where Grand Job, we already talked about, took all the money, and rightly so, coming off that huge effort in the Bed of Roses. But Maida surprised everybody going out to the front end. She was able to back down the pace, maybe more so than I would have expected, and able to finish off this race. We'll take a look at the replay here, and it just feels like she has come back as a new horse now as a 4-year-old, because she kind of announced herself with that win in the Alma North. I wasn't quite sure what to make of it. She set a blazing pace that day and ran everybody off their feet, but she proved that was no fluke with this honorable miss score last time out.
Yeah, listen, I think the other thing that I would just say about, especially her first 2 starts this year, I think Brittany and the Russells, they've figured out that she's a speed horse. Because again, she was in that Raven Run too, the Kappa one, and I don't know if it was, I mean, she didn't break great in there, but they also didn't really try to make the lead with her in there. And she was just bad in that race. But around that, they've just been sending her off to the front. And she just keeps going. Now, that was a pretty good win for her last time, even though she did sort of get to control things up front. I mean, I'm not like way against her in it, Dave. I think she could be a dangerous horse on the lead in here, but this is going to be a lot harder for her to win this race, I think.
It's going to be harder. She's got to get 7 furlongs and do so with a tough pace rival drawing her outside that we'll get to pretty shortly. First up, though, is a different Saffie Joseph runner, the number 9, Paradise City. She's another one, Mike, who has really improved as a 4-year-old. I mean, she's won both starts this year since they've kind of turned her back to become a dirt sprinter again. They tried it early in her career. She looked good, but they got away from that, going longer or trying turf. She's run well in her last couple of starts. She's just done it against much weaker company.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, listen, at least they have. If you wanted to say she's a huge price in this race and you're just looking for something to hold on to, they figured out probably what she wants to do now. She wants to sprint on dirt, and they really didn't give her a chance to do that at all in her career until she came back this year as a 4-year-old. The last 2 races are pretty good.
Saffie Joseph has 3 in here, but the one who seems like she's a major contender is the number 10, Our Disaster, coming off a Grade 1 win in the Derby City Distaff, notably over Ways and Means, upsetting that favorite on that occasion. Our Disaster did have all the best of it, Mike, because there were not that many horses entered. It was a small field. There were a few that seemed like they could have gone forward. Bob Baffert had a couple. Ways and Means has natural speed, but nobody was that interested in going out to the front, and Our Disaster was just allowed to control that pace. I know it seems like it was honest on paper, but for horses at that level, it was she was traveling well within herself and then able to sprint home after those unchallenged early splits. Prior to that, she was really no match for today's rival Eclatant in the Madison, where she set a faster pace on the front end. Maybe that performance makes you wonder about her getting the 7 furlongs with a tougher pace scenario. And like we should mention, her preparation for this has been far from ideal. They had wanted to prep her in the honorable miss. She wasn't even able to work for that race. She's only gotten in 3 workouts since that win on May 2nd, just starting back on the work tab on July 28th. So you have to really wonder if she's quite fit enough for the task at hand.
Yeah, none of those signs are great since the big Grade 1 win the last time that we saw her, where, as you've already pointed out, I mean, she did sort of take advantage in there. I'm reluctant. I don't like her in here, David. I'm reluctant to knock her too much, if only because this is I've never really given her that much respect, I guess. And Our Disaster's done a lot of winning, and I've done a lot of losing betting against her because she actually is pretty good. But once again on Saturday, I'm not betting this horse.
Yeah, if Maida wasn't in this race, I would have thought that she was much more dangerous, because outside of those two, it's not like there's a ton of pace in here, but both of these are just need the lead types that kind of need to go. So you have to think something's got to give on the front end with these 2 horses. The number 11 is Beauty Reigns. Mike, she probably looks a cut below these on paper, but I will say, we'll take a look at her most recent race at Saratoga when she won, going the 7 furlong distance. I liked this effort. She made a big wide run off the turn. She had some trouble early, getting squeezed back at the start, and she's got to work for this win. But the horse that she's running down, Senza Parole, on her day is pretty good. She's probably not a Grade 1 horse anymore, but a horse that could be competitive in graded stakes races. And Beauty Reigns just beats her on the square. And you go back to some of her prior stakes tries, I thought she actually ran okay in the test last year as a 3-year-old, where she kind of made the first move, the late runners, and maybe a move that was a little bit too early given the way that race fell apart at the end. So there are some things to like about her. I'm just not quite sure that I can get to her as a win candidate in this race.
Yep, you made all the points I was going to make about her. I don't know that I believe that she's a ballerina winner, but there are things to like. Her last race, I'm with you. It was good. Her test, you go back and take a look at that race. It's a super underrated performance, the way that race turned out at the end. She's a closing sprinter, and she might have something to run at here to at least get a piece of this thing. I'm going to use her underneath. I couldn't get there on top with her, but I'm going to use this horse somewhere.
Rounding out this field is the number 12, Eclatant, the horse that I pegged as the second choice on the morning line. And Mike, if she runs back to her effort in the Grade 1 Madison 2 back, she could arguably be co-favored in this race, or should be, with Ways and Means, because this is kind of a carbon copy of Ways and Means Bed of Roses. We'll take a look at the replay of this Madison, because they're beating the exact same horse who ran the exact same kind of race. That is Grand Job, who is firing a big shot here, but Eclatant, she comes and gets her on the outside. Now, Eclatant has to work really hard to get by Grand Job, who is not letting this lead go. And at multiple points of the stretch, it seems like Grand Job's got Eclatant put away, but she's relentless. She ultimately comes and gets her on the outside. You'll see the horse that's finishing 3rd here. That is Our Disaster, who was setting this pace, but had no answer when these top 2 came to get her at the end. Eclatant, Mike, she came back for a start after this in the Grade 2 Chicago at Churchill Downs. Big regression on the speed figure scale, but I imagine they weren't looking for her top effort that day, like that they had this further Grade 1 on the horizon. Yeah. Still, though, you would have wanted to see her win that race a bit more authoritatively. And, we didn't show picks yet, but I took a peek at yours. I get the sense that you're kind of against this horse, so why don't you tell me why?
Well, I just didn't want, here's why. I didn't want to use both of the short prices in this race. And ultimately, I just think Ways and Means, maybe I'm wrong about it. I think Ways and Means is a better horse than Eclatant. Well, we'll see. I mean, she'll have to prove that on the racetrack. Obviously, the races 2 and 3 back make this horse super dangerous in here. But like you, I was kind of underwhelmed by her Chicago last time. Maybe it was just a prep and she's going to revert back to that the form from earlier this year and win this race. I think that's certainly possible, but I don't know, David. It's not like I loved her early on. I didn't love her last race either. She's going to be the second choice to Ways and Means. I just feel more comfortable taking the 7 rather than the 12. And I'm not using both of them.
Yeah, that's fair enough. They're going to take the bulk of the money in here, and you generally want to make distinctions between these two horses when you're putting especially multi-race tickets together. An interesting point I was kind of making to myself about her, Mike, and I don't know how much stock you want to put in this because, we talked about Ways and Means being a horse for course at Saratoga. You could make the case that Eclatant is a horse that doesn't run her best races at Churchill Downs because she's 4 for 4 outside of that venue, and really kind of the 4 best races she's run are not at her home base. Yeah. And, you kind of go through it, and she's disappointed multiple times at that venue. It's just something I noticed going through it. I don't know what you're supposed to make of that. Let's go to our picks for this Grade 1 Ballerina. And, we kind of previewed where we're going to go already, Mike. You have Ways and Means as the horse to beat, but I see you're going to put somebody else a much bigger price on top.
Yeah, I respect Ways and Means for sure, but I know that she can be had. I've seen her lose races in the past, and I think she's really good, but I'm happy to take a little shot against her if she's a short price. I actually like both of Rusty Arnold's horses in here. Obviously, trips are going to be important for the 1 Echo Sound and the 2 Kilwin. I think they're both pretty good. And Echo Sound, I'm just going to hope she falls into a trip here and proves that the big figure she earned at Saratoga last summer wasn't some kind of a fluke and can, run a big race here at a price. I'm going to try her on top in here.
I'm pretty chalky in here. I had trouble separating the 2 favorites. I felt like Eclatant was going to be a better price than Ways and Means, so I put her on top. I want to use Beauty Reigns underneath. I want to use Kilwin underneath, but I just thought that the 2 favorites looked like they were the main 2 win candidates, so nothing too clever for me in this Ballerina. 12, 7, 11, 2 are my picks. 1, 7, 2, 11 for Mike in this Grade 1 on Travers Saturday at Saratoga. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.